Hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Hope you're having an amazing day. Thank you so much for joining me here. We're taking a look here, of course, at Ravencoin once more. Taking a look, hopefully, at what we might see as a potential breakout. I'll explain that and, of course, much more and the reason why I feel that could happen. But generally speaking, at this point, I want you to know that I love teaching people to trade, and I hope that you can learn something here today. That's my goal. I also have a trading academy, community, and signal group where I send out signals for every single trade that I take. CryptoCash.tech is a website. Link in the description below. You can learn from over 16 years of trading experience that I put into some private videos there. So be sure to check that out in your own time. I also offer discounts for military and third world countries. Okay. Last thing, of course, but not least, is BitGet. Fantastic exchange. I highly recommend using them. They transfer over a lot of bonus USDT if you were to transfer and trade with them. Keep in mind, in order to benefit from some of these events, some of the bonuses, for lack of better terms, you do need to make sure that you actually use the exchange itself. Because if you just transfer funds and you're not using it, they don't seem to want to reward you with that. So I was able to get a pretty big bonus just because I consistently trade on a daily basis, and that was essentially a really easy pick for me. So check that out in your own time. Definitely recommend BitGet. Really awesome exchange. So take a look here, excuse me, at Ravencoin. What we want to look at, of course, is starting with the daily and working our way up or down, I guess you could say, right? I say up because the price is going up, but technically we're going to work down on the price action itself for the hourly, etc., kind of work our way down the time frames. But for right now, you can see a retest almost immediately of that 74-cent range. So, sorry, I say 74 cents, 7.4 cents. So 7.4 is effectively the price point in which it's been hit twice. A lot of times what you could see happen is a cup and handle pattern. We'll look at that here in just a moment, but the key takeaway is that we're honoring this ascending trend line and things are looking pretty darn good. And in the face of Bitcoin doing stupid stuff, Ravencoin wicked up and wicked down, and it's all well and good. It's as if it never happened. Awesome to see that. So this is a very good sign. So a very healthy coin, very healthy continuation, a lot of positives here. Let's take a look at some of the standard stuff. All the moving averages are below the price action. Nothing to worry about. We see this nice bounce off of 70 on the RSI, as per usual, holding as a strong support. Again, bullish trends, you'll see this happen. So that's a very, very good sign. It does tell us that we have a likelihood of the price action continuing higher from here. All things said here, even though the MACD is overextended, it's still gaining its oscillators and increasing in price. In other words, with the amount of volume that we're seeing here, it's communicating that it wants to continue higher. Okay. Really good stuff here. So again, for the most part, the macro looks great, even though, yes, you could argue it's overextended to the upside. It's still very much in good shape here. And keep this in mind too, we should have had a reset here. We had about 4 days of consolidation, but technically it legged up again a little early. So we didn't get that full on reset. So to me, hypothetically, we should be at a 3 days of continuation, not necessarily overtime there and overextended. Okay, so keep that in mind. There was some decent consolidation periods before each breakout, and that's a very positive sign. Okay, so you kind of need that for continuations to occur, at least in bullish trends. And of all the bullish trends I've seen, this is one of those standard type of situations where the price action is forming a nice pattern, and there's a great chance or likelihood we'll see it retest this level a few times and then break through 7.4 cents. All right, so taking a look at the moving averages here, we can see, of course, the 20 simple moving average working almost exactly concurrent with that trend line. It's a very common characteristic. The 50 also has a tendency of doing that too, but for the most part, this gives us the confirmation that we are above a nice, we're on the right side of the tracks, right? We're on the bullish side, and until it breaks down below that trend line, we can expect the price to continue higher. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and pull this out here and extend it up a little bit further, and just go ahead and recognize that that is a good trend line. That's very positive. All right. Furthermore, we also want to take a look at the RSI. While we are closer to 70, and I don't love this, this does imply the midterm we could see a slight pullback. So what I'd love to see is for the price action to come down and complete a handle pattern here, down to about 7 cents exactly, and then leg up from there, come back down and retest as a support. I'll show you what I mean by that on the hourly. It's a little easier to see when you have a smaller time frame, but generally speaking, this is looking like a standard cup and handle type of pattern. All right. Taking a look, of course, at the MACD, we can see a nice convergence here, of course. That really just implies that we are, once again, on the right side of the tracks. That bearish momentum has subsided. Okay. And that was temporary pullback. It has to happen, of course, when the price action shoots up like it did. You recognize this. It doesn't seem like a lot, but that was like almost a 40% jump up, like 35% roughly in only 12 hours. Okay. So something like that does have to come back down, and it's just kind of an inevitability. All right. What you also want to recognize too, and let's take a look at this on the 1 hour. Let's pull this up here as well with Bitcoin. If you take a look at Bitcoin's decrease yesterday, right about 5 a.m., which is basically when CPI data was released, we can take a look at Raven and look at, this is the red candle from Raven here, okay? So that was not that significant of a correction considering how overextended Ravencoin was, right? So that tells us it's very healthy, and the fact that it consolidated sideways since then and increased, whereas Bitcoin is just on the straight struggle bus right now, we can absolutely identify that it's doing very well for itself, right? So again, I just like to kind of point that out because those are really important factors to note when you are taking a trade for a coin like this, right? They need to be able to do well, contrary to Bitcoin doing poorly. That's a sure sign of something emerging itself, right? Terra Classic did the same thing again recently, even though it's selling off, and Do Kwon has an arrest warrant and all that whole thing. We can see Ravencoin is doing very, very well, contrary to Bitcoin doing poorly. I think that's a good thing to identify. All right, so that's kind of where we're at there in that sense. Apologize for me clearing my throat. I'm still getting over a cold. I appreciate your patience with that. So take a look here, of course. Here's this cup pattern, right? That's a typical cup pattern when it comes up and retests that same resistance level 2 times in a row. Once we have that, the 2 likely outcomes is for the price action to break above, come back down, and test it as a support. Here, let me go ahead and move this a little bit, because it is very, very common for the price action to essentially retest the previous resistance level, right? So again, we establish 7.4 as a resistance. Price action could, one of 2 things, come up, come back down, use that resistance level previous at 7.4 and bounce to the upside, essentially establishing it as a support level. That is a common characteristic in situations like this. The second most common characteristic is, of course, the cup and handle, where you got the price action coming down to one of 2 places. It could come down also to right around 6.7. But generally speaking, it will come down to a next key level support and bounce to the upside. And then it'll break and essentially continue higher from there. So those 2 scenarios are probable at this point. It's just a matter of which of the 2 is going to happen next. I feel as if Bitcoin were to recover soon, we could see the first scenario play out where the cup minus a handle, it just comes up and continues on further. That's a very strong likelihood. It's also a good likelihood too that we're going to have a handle pattern to pull back, because as we can see here, if we take a look at TD sequential, we're getting somewhat overextended. We're not terrible, but we've been pushing for 6 hours straight. Now you can see Ravencoin has a tendency of hitting 9s pretty consistently. So hypothetically, we could break up above here, hit a 9, come back to reset, consolidate, and bounce. That's very strong likelihood too. So again, just a couple of scenarios that could occur. Keep in mind also, Bitcoin could have another bad day and Raven finally, aligns itself and comes back down. That's a possibility too. But it does feel like Raven's picking up some really good steam, and it has some really good fundamentals too, of course, in the back end. With mining, etc. There's a lot of good stuff here. So all in all, this coin does look like it has strong propensity to increase further from here. So I just be mindful of that, be ready. It looks like it's it's on its way up, right? So very much a positive thing here. Very last thing to look at would be the Ichimoku cloud. We're above the cloud, conversion line's above the baseline, and lagging span is free and clear of price action. So it's pretty much, I wouldn't say no-brainer per se, because it is slightly overextended, but it definitely tells us we're on the right side of the tracks as well. Everything is screaming bullish tendencies for Ravencoin right now. All right, so be prepared for a breakout to the upside. It does feel like it's fairly likely. I would recommend not taking a full position, just maybe take a position now and maybe a smaller position at a lower key level Fibonacci retracement, maybe 6.7 or 7.0 essentially, and get filled in your position that way too. I like to take multiple entries in some cases when something is overextended like it is right now. Something to think about. All right, anyways, those are all things that I cover in my Trading Academy, so feel free to join. CryptoCash.tech as a website, link in the description below. I've had a lot of graduates recently doing very well for themselves, so thank you so much for just being amazing parts of my life, and I love being able to do the same thing for you. Thank you. All right, so we'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. You have yourself a great rest of your day. Take care.